right, guys, we got another fitness segment for you this week, and we have someone in here who has a really cool job. Not only chief of police, but he also does fitness instruction for police officers. So a really cool job, also very important job as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to your position?
Sure. So I'm Andreucci. I'm the chief of police for the city of Robinson. I started there January of this year. Prior to that, I worked in Travis County for the last 17 years. I worked for the Manor Police Department and then for the Sunset Valley Police Department prior to coming here. So I started in January and kind of got my feet on the ground here, figured things out, and then met the director of the McLennan County Police Academy, ended up teaching fitness there for the officers that are going through the police academy, and started a fitness program at my police department.
Oh, nice. So you start your own fitness program. Is it not like similar to each department? You kind of start your own for each department?
So the department that I came from in Travis County, we had a gym at our department, and we allowed our officers to work out 1 hour per shift on the clock, and then we had some physical fitness standards that officers had to meet to get the job, and then they had to test annually on it too. When I came here, we had a fitness program, or fitness standard officers had to meet to get the job, but once they had the job, they didn't have to ever do it again. So prior to coming here, I actually went through a training at DPS. It's called the Texas Department of Public Safety's Fitness Institute. And when I went through that, I got certified as a personal trainer through the American College of Sports Medicine, and then DPS recognized you as a bit of a subject matter expert in law enforcement fitness standards. So basically it's a great way to how to train our police officers to be fit so that they can do the job that calls on us. Because a lot of our time we're just sitting in a car, we're not doing a whole lot, but when we do have to get out and do something, we put our bodies under a whole lot of stress, going from sitting still doing nothing straight up to, you know, max 100 miles an hour, your heart's going, your adrenaline's dumping. Yeah. So it really wreaks havoc with your body. So there's some ways to train for that, to get in better health, and so that we don't have officers getting hurt or hurting someone else when they don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell us about the requirements needed, like the fitness requirements. Now, is this something that is the same among each department in the country, or are the fitness requirements a little bit different in each department? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's really weird. You would think it would be standardized, right? Because we're all kind of doing the same job, police officers are, but it isn't. So the state of Texas has required all police officers employed by the state, which is like DPS, TABC, those guys have to have, they have a standard that is set, and most of them have adopted using the Concept 2 rower and doing a 2,000 meter row, which there's a formula that measures your Vo2 Max when you do the row. So the Vo2 Max basically just shows, for those who aren't familiar with that, it shows how efficiently your body uses oxygen, right? So the healthier that you are, the more efficient your body uses that oxygen as a fuel to power your muscles and keep you going. The less healthy that you are, obviously your body's not going to be very efficient with that. So it's a great standard because it shows it doesn't require an officer to jump over a wall or pick up anything heavy. It'd be really hard to get hurt on the rower, even if you fell off, it's 6 inches off the ground. Right, so it'd be really tough to get hurt on the rower. So the state has kind of moved to that, and there's a lot of agencies that have adopted that. I know in the Travis County area, Austin Police Department has, and the Travis County Sheriff's Department has. Here locally, it looks like it hasn't quite got to this area yet. It's something I'm working on putting in place at my department, but currently my department, and I know Waco also, we use I call it old school. It's a obstacle course style thing where you start in your police car, you have to unbuckle, get out, run through a zigzag, jump a wall, kind of run through another zigzag, jump over a little ditch, and at the very end, drag a dummy or something like that. So, I've been a police officer for 17 years, and I haven't jumped a whole lot of walls. So it's not really the most job-specific thing, but I have been in, foot pursuits, and I have been in those situations where my heart rate spikes as soon as I get out of the car because I'm about to go hands-on with somebody, and the rower does that to you. So when you first start on the rower, everybody holds their breath. You don't do it consciously, but it's something that you do.
Yeah.
And then your heart rate spikes, and then you kind of get into the rhythm, and your heart rate comes down just a little bit, and you start to work through it. Well, the same thing kind of happens if an officer's in a foot chase or pursuit. Initially, they're gonna hold their breath, their heart rate's gonna spike, and then as they work through it, they get to that level of fitness that they have, and they can work their way through it and hopefully not get hurt. So, but no, so the short answer to your question is there is no standard unless you work for the state. I think there should be, and I think as more and more police departments start taking fitness seriously and realize that, if you're making an officer pass that standard to get the job, then why should they not have to keep that standard throughout their career? It just doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And another thing is if you if you're talking with a potential suspect or something, you're out of shape, they may notice that, and they're probably going to be more prone to try something or try to run away because you can tell if someone's out of shape. Anybody can do that. So not to mention if you're in shape, you're going to be more intimidating too if you have to handle someone in certain ways.
Absolutely. There's actually studies about that. It's always been in the back of my mind. When I was in the police academy, I remember I should have studied for this interview a little better, made some notes, but there was a study that they gave us in the police academy where somebody went out and interviewed people that were in prison for like violent offenses, for attacking a police officer, assaultive type offenses. And then they've asked them, what led you to assault that police officer? What led you to not assault this one? Or why did you fight this person at the jail but not this one? And a lot of it came back to, well, that officer looked squared away. His uniform was on, tight. It wasn't dirty. His boots were polished. He was in good shape. He looked like he had the confidence to take care of himself. Where this guy over here, his uniform's wrinkled. He's out of shape. I was pretty confident by looking at him that I could get the one up on him. So yeah, having that presence where you look like you're able to handle your own business as a police officer, I think there's a lot of value to that because ultimately, none of the police officers that I know wake up in the morning, go to work hoping they can get into a fight or have to use their taser or baton or pepper spray, because I don't think anybody wants to hurt anybody, right? And they don't want to get hurt themselves. So if there's something that I can do to, when I get out of my car, minimize that, I think we should all be working towards that goal to look the part. We're here to serve the public. If we can't make it through a call without getting winded, then how good of a community or public servant are we at that point?
Yeah, and that's another thing. If the community sees officers that are out of shape, their confidence is just going to drop. But if they see people that are in shape, that look like they can run, that look like they can hold their own, if God forbid a confrontation happens of sorts, that's going to give the community more confidence too.
I believe so, and not so much just for confrontation, but if I have to, pull you out of a burning car or get you out of a house that's on fire or, carry something, there's so much more that we do besides just fight people. I've had to pull people out of cars more than I've been in fights in my career,
Yeah.
So that overall level of fitness pays off for a lot of stuff that we do. The other thing is that, police officers focus so much on officers that are killed in the line of duty, right? It's always a big deal when an officer is killed in the line of duty. There's a great public show of respect, which is awesome. However, what we don't focus enough on is that over the last 10 years, on average, between 15 and 20 police officers per year have died of heart attacks. So we have mandatory time at the range where we have to focus on being properly to use our gun, unholster it, shoot well. We make our officers wear the body armor so they can't get hurt. We go through defensive tactics training, but there's nothing mandatory about staying physically fit, which we know every year 15 to 20 officers are going to die from a heart attack. We could get that number probably never to zero because there's always going to be that anomaly where someone just has a heart attack because they had something that wasn't diagnosed, but almost all of those heart attacks happen immediately after an officer was involved in either like a foot pursuit or a use of force, and then once they come down, their heart just boom, gives out. So had that person been training properly, and it's almost always someone that's, you know, overweight or has a blood pressure issue, which are all issues that you can fix through proper diet and exercise. So, I mean, we could bring the number of line of duty vets down every year just by trying to make our public servants a little healthier.
The fitness things you guys have to do. So is this like a one and done thing? Do they not renew it? Do they not make you take it again in a certain amount of time, or how does that work?
So currently my department is one and done. The system that I'd like to go to is the officers have to test either every 6 months or every year. So you would test every 6 months, but if you scored high enough on that Vo2 Max, then you could do it every year. So obviously if an officer scores in the 95th percentile, with 100 being perfect, your body's, you know, no one's going to get 100. But if they're in the 95th percentile in 6 months, they're not going to drop down below 40% and fail, right? Like, you're in pretty good health. So like there'd be like a cutoff line where if you're at this point, you only have to do the test annually. If you're below that point, you have to do it every 6 months. So I would like to get that instituted at my department. The problem is you know, the Concept 2 rowers aren't super cheap. They're about $1,000 a piece, and then they take up space. So some of us smaller departments, Robinson included, we have one rower currently. I don't have space for 4 or 5, or like Waco PD would need, you know, 50 to 100 of them to get everybody through. And then the more that they're used, they're going to break down. You got to buy parts for it. So a lot of it is budget on why it's not done more often than not, or why they're not moving to the rower. But I think eventually, slowly, that the change is pushing towards that direction where you are going to see more and more of the departments, especially the bigger agencies that have the space, start pushing for their officers to test at least annually, so that they're maintaining at least just a base level of physical fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you've been mentioning Vo2 Max, so I'm going to assume that in these training programs for officers, there's a lot of HIIT training involved. You know, not just running for a certain amount of time, but like explosive sprints or something like that.
Yeah, so I currently, every police academy that MCC puts on, starting at this last academy, I coach the cadets Mondays and Fridays for 1 hour. And then on Wednesdays, they do a ground fighting class. So they technically work out 3 days a week. And then here in the McLennan County area, it's pretty neat. All the area agencies put their cadets, their officers in training, through the academy at MCC. So this last academy I had, that's currently going on, I had Waco officers, Lacey Lakeview, Lorena, I think a couple deputies from the sheriff's office. So we're all kind of training together. So, but unfortunately, when you have 15 to 25 people, it's difficult to put a big group through any kind of real strenuous like weight training or anything. So HIIT training, which is a high intensity interval training, is kind of the way to go. So what I've done with them is I was able to partner with Fringe Sports, which is they sell gym equipment, and they're based in Austin. I worked with them quite a bit when I was in Travis County, and they donated 2 sets of resistance bands for every cadet to use that's in the class. So since I don't have a gym big enough to use, 20 rowers and 20 barbells and 20 kettlebells for everybody, we did a lot of training with the resistance bands, which is a big thing that I want officers and just the general public to realize, is you don't need a gym to get a good workout in.
True.
So I had 16 cadets when the academy started, and 90% of our workouts are with body weights and resistance bands. And I can promise you those officers, or cadets, officers soon, that weren't working out when they started were pretty sore and understood just how much of your body can work with just a big rubber band.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about using the body weight and the resistance band is people don't realize with the resistance band, like if you're doing like a bicep curl or something, it actually gets harder on the way up, and you're actually using more muscle fibers that way because you're shortening the muscle. And then of course with body weight, you're lengthening the muscle a lot too. So like if you had a push-up and you had resistance bands harder on the way up, body weight it's hardest down here. So you kind of get to multiple angles of the muscle getting worked, and that's going to be better for the officers in the long run. Plus it'll keep them from getting injured, working multiple parts of that strength curve. That's huge.
That's one of the big things I tried to do with him was one that work multiple parts of the strength curve, push the cadets that already had a base level of fitness was pretty good when they came in, but be able to not leave the ones that really hadn't worked out behind, or just basically run them into the ground. Because the worst thing you want to do as a trainer is to just smoke somebody for no reason, right? I mean, anybody that's been training people for any amount of time can put a workout together that's just going to leave somebody in just a pool of sweat wanting to throw up, basically.
Yeah.
So you do that to a person more than once, and they're not going to want to come back, right? And my goal teaching these cadets these bodyweight movements and resistance band type of training is that hopefully some of the lessons that they got from me for those several months of twice a week was that, one, it doesn't require a whole lot of space or time to get a full body workout in, and two, it's good healthy habits that they can take with them somewhere else. You don't need to go to a gym if they're working in the county or they live in one of the more rural parts here where there isn't a gym close by, a $60 set of resistance bands, and they could really change the way that their body looks on the outside and how they feel on the inside with almost nothing. But if I smoke them every day, they're not going to want to do that. Like, they're going to come in, they're going to do their 1 hour workout session because they have to, and I'm the chief of police and I'm yelling at them.
Right.
But when it's over, they're not going to come back, right? Like, they're going to go back to their normal habits. So we discussed that quite a bit when I'm training them, that, the goal is for you to carry this over on your own. Like, you're not going to probably have a personal trainer with you all the time.
Right.
If you are fortunate enough, great. But if you're not, everything that I'm doing, I'm showing you the proper form, I'm showing you what it should feel like, I'm showing you what the movement should look like. After several months of doing this together, you don't need me anymore. Like, as long as you have that internal drive, you can do it on your own.
Yeah, it's a mental thing from there, because you just know the movement, and then you just gotta keep pushing at it until you just make it feel harder and harder. And that's another great thing about the HIIT training. Not only is it'll help you look better too, but of course as you lean down, that'll be better for officers because they won't need to use as much oxygen because they're leaner and they can just move faster.
Yes, move faster, be more explosive. And I can say, as the police chief, I'm responsible for every penny of the budget that the taxpayers of Robinson have entrusted me with, which is millions of dollars. So every penny counts. But if I have an officer that came to me and they got into great shape and they needed all new uniforms, I would gladly spend that money to get these guys and gals into uniforms. It's great when you have, and we have a couple of officers now that I put a gym at the police department that have used it. I think one of my sergeants just told me a couple days ago he's down like 20 pounds. So I think when people have an opportunity and they have somebody that's willing to, not just run them into the ground all the time, and give them some stuff that they can carry over on their own. I think most people want to feel good about themselves. I think most people just become overwhelmed and don't know where to start. Maybe they weren't athletes in high school or middle school, and if you just walked into a gym, especially with free weights, and you've never used it before, like, that's intimidating. Like, what do you do with all of this stuff, right?
Where do you start? Yeah.
Where do you start? Do you just, like, how do I hit the front part of my arm? How do I get the triceps involved? Like, I want my butt to look better. What do I do? People don't know these things, and they end up going in there and just doing these random workouts that aren't really planned together, and then they do that for several weeks and they don't see any type of improvement.
Yeah.
And they quit. Well, they're not seeing improvement because they're just, it'd be like if you were working on your car and you wanted to change your headlight, you didn't know where to start, so you started taking the exhaust system off, and you get frustrated the headlight still doesn't work, so you just stop. Well, you weren't starting in the right place. So I think having some type of plan from somebody can show you that, again, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, really about an hour a day, actually anything over 30 minutes a day, and you should see some pretty decent changes, but you have to be patient with it and stop eating junk food would help quite a bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's got to be another part, the diet. Now, is there I know there's a certain fitness thing that officers have to go through. Do they have to eat a certain way, or can they just eat whatever they want?
So while they're going through the academy and when they're on their own, and when they're at the department, their food is on their own. So I can say during this particular last police academy, one of the cadets, and if they're watching this, you know who you are, ate a very poor lunch and threw up middle of the workout. Now, it wasn't because the workout was that bad, but I warned them not to eat these crappy lunches, and that particular day, I guess, felt froggy and decided to try to go for it and ate. I forget what he ate, but he ended up throwing out in the middle of the workout. So it's something that we discuss with them, but we can't force them to eat, what they want to eat. And I think, again, back to most people need to exercise a little more. Also, most people need to eat a little bit better. So, and I'm not a nutrition specialist. I'm not a nutritionist, but I think deep down we all know what's good for us and what's bad for us. I mean, it doesn't take somebody with an acronym after their name to tell you that Big Mac is not what you should be eating for lunch, or the fried chicken. You should, eat a salad, have some vegetables, eat some fruit, eat some lean meat. So I think most people know that. They just do a bad job of not making those choices because it's convenient to hit the Bush's Chicken drive-through or go get that slush at Sonic. Yes, way too many of them, and it's not easy to get healthy fast food, and it's healthy food doesn't have to, it's a little more expensive than eating fast food too, but it doesn't break the bank if you take a couple minutes out of each day to do it yourself. You don't have to go to Sonic and try to get the salad or whatever the case is.
Well, another thing is, if you eat better, I guarantee the officers will just feel better too, because we've all been there. If we have junk food and you're on the job, or on any job, you just start kind of getting tired, and that's the last thing you want as a police officer. You want to feel good, you want to have that energy, and you're not going to get that through fast food or just junk.
No, that especially is true. That eating the food, after you eat that fast food, you feel good for a few minutes, then you have that crash after the fact.
Nap time.
The other thing that most police officers don't do, and I would venture to be pretty confident saying the general public as well, is that we are almost all of us walking around dehydrated constantly because we don't drink enough water. And it's amazing how much better you feel when you're properly hydrated as well. Your energy level goes up, your workouts aren't quite as hard, but again, it's easy to go grab a Dr. Pepper from the Circle K or Cefco than it is. I mean, it's just as easy. It's probably cheaper to do that really than it is to buy a bottle of water. But like me personally, in my car right now parked out back, I've got a Yeti full of ice water, and I just keep filling that bad boy up.
I got something similar,
Yeah,
it
so
helps
I mean,
a lot.
it does help a lot. So, I mean, there's all these little simple things people could do that, if you do just one of them, you're going to see some type of improvement. But you start stacking these little things together that really none of them by themselves take much effort or time. And you're going to feel better. You're going to wake up feeling better. People who have skin problems, their skin clears up when they eat better, cut all that greasy food, get the proper water. And I mean, your body's telling you that what you're doing to it is not good. Like every chance it can, it's telling you, hey, this inflammation is because you're feeding me junk. Like this skin breakout, it's because I haven't had any water in a year. You keep feeding me Dr. Pepper and sweet tea. I just need water. And if you just listen to yourself, to the signs that your body's giving you, you would feel a little better. And I think also if the general public, not the police public, but if people are always, I've friends and family ask me, like, where do I start? Like, what do I do to get going? And I think most people, if they would just start by just walking more, like in the evenings, go out and walk your subdivision.
Yeah, the little things.
Walk your street. Just start with that. And when that gets easy, then go to the next step. Maybe join a gym or go to hire a trainer, or there's resistance band workouts. You can Google on YouTube and watch 1,000 different resistance bands workout that are full body or upper body or lower body or a split. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of time or money, just getting that mind set right to get out and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably one of the last things we talk about. So you mentioned on Monday and Friday, during that training program, it's about like an hour-long workout. What exact exercises are being done in that hour?
Whew, a lot of everything. So we always start with a dynamic warm-up. So these cadets have been sitting in a classroom session all day. So basically when you go to the police academy, it's like an associate's degree worth of work, schoolwork, but done in like an 8-month period. So they're in class from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 5 days a week, except Mondays and Fridays. Then they're with me from 4 to 5. So they've just been sitting, sedentary all day long, which is what most of us do at a desk.
True, yeah.
So we start with about a 5 to 15-minute warm-up, depending on what I'm going to have them do. And the warm-up is usually consists of some kind of like little jog at what I call a conversational pace. So you jog at a pace where you can talk to the person next to you. If you're jogging any harder than that, then you can't talk. It's obviously not a conversational pace.
Yeah.
So we do like a short jog at a conversational pace, then maybe some air squats, some push-ups, some different various, not static stretches, but dynamic stretches, because you don't want a static stretch before the workout. And then after that, we'll move into, I usually break the workouts up for the cadets into 2 or 3 segments of different HIIT style sessions. So we might do like a 6-minute Tabata, which is 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest of a couple different movements, maybe like a air squat or a thruster with the weight band, and I'm probably talking about stuff that people really aren't sure what is, but and then sometimes I'll have them grab just like a dumbbell or a kettlebell, and we can do like goblet squats with them, curls. I'll try to break it up to where I hit normally. I'll start with the lower body first, then I'll do in the middle, I'll do usually a 9-minute EMOM, which is every minute on the minute you do so many movements, and if it takes you 30 seconds to do the first set of movements, then you have 30 seconds of rest for that next minute starts and the next workout starts. So I've just smoked them for 6 minutes on the Tabata with 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, and really you're not resting in those 10 seconds, you're transitioning from the one movement to the next. So then we do that, I give them like a 2-minute break, get a sip of water, catch your breath a minute, and then right back into the EMOM. And then on that one, I try to focus on a total body kind of workout. We might do some overhead press with the bands where you stand on the bands, hold it here, press overhead, curls with them. Push-ups, we do a lot of push-ups, a lot of mountain climbers, because in law enforcement, my cadets know that every workout is going to be some type of core workout, because for 20 years, if you make it through this job through 20 years, you're carrying this duty belt on that weighs anywhere from 15 to 25 pounds, depending when it's all done. So I want these cadets to have a strong core. So we do a bunch of core workout, and then in the end, I'll either do lower body or upper body, whichever one I didn't start with. So usually it's some type of Tabata, some type of EMOM, and then maybe a Tabata at the end. And then if I don't feel like we hit core enough, then it'll always be a little core surprise just at the end by itself. And then after that, we do a cool down, depending on how hard I push them. The cool down could be another conversational jog. And then we do static stretches at the end, because the general public also is, we're very tight. We sit all day long, so our hip flexors are just way too tight. Our hamstrings are always super tight. So we're asking these cadets to be prepared to hop out of a car and go chase after somebody. They have to, and they're gonna pull a hamstring, I guarantee it. So we do a bunch of static stretches at the end. I make sure that everybody's color looks good, that they're all sweating, and there's no one that's just dry in there.
Not about to fall on their face.
No
right?
one's falling down.
Yeah.
Only the one cadet's throwing up, and then they drink, and then I send them on their way. So, I mean, the workout itself is probably about 35 minutes of the hour, with a 15-minute warm-up and then transition period, and then about a 10 to 15-minute cool down and stretch at the end. But we're in there, I mean, you're moving the entire time, and every cadet in there lost weight through the time that we did that. And then when I started out with them, I did a test, had them do as many air squats as they could in 60 seconds, as many push-ups as they could until failure, so they could, if it take them 10 minutes, great, and no one can do push-ups for 10 minutes, but
Right.
until they failed, and then pull-ups. And every single cadet showed massive improvement from the beginning to the end, and that's just twice a week. So it was good. I feel like hopefully some of those guys and gals will take some of those lessons with them when they're done. So fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so in addition to the hit style stuff, when you guys go through like the final test, is there a strength component involved? Do you have to be able to lift a certain amount of weight?
No, so we didn't really do any strength training with those cadets at all. Now, when I went through the DPS Fitness Institute to be certified by them, we had to do bench press, and they also measured our vertical leap, just because of overall fitness. We did a lot of different tests with them, but for just the average police officer, no, we don't want to do anything like that. I mean, because again, it's as an administrative department, I have to balance the fitness of my officers, and I have to balance the risk of them getting hurt, right?
True, yeah.
Because if I get an officer that, tears a pec benching, or hamstring or knee squatting, or back deadlifting because their form isn't good, then I'm out that officer, that employee for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then my overtime budget's going to go up. So we have to find that kind of happy middle where I can provide the public with someone that's fit for duty, but also not push them so hard that I risk hurting them, because then I'm also not helping the public out when we're down an officer because Officer Jones pec tore, Officer Smith blew his back out doing deadlifts.
Yeah.
So we don't do a lot of strength training in that, but we do use some weights, but there isn't like a component where they have to bench 1.5 times their body weight or squat twice their body weight. Some of the more traditional style metrics that are out there for certain fitness standards, whatever guru says that's the number. No, it's basically, for me, it's Vo2 Max is a great thing. I know I've said it a bunch of times, but it's a great way to measure somebody's overall health and really not risk getting them hurt.
Yeah, and it's just huge for your guys' line of work, especially because I've seen the videos of the test where you mentioned you jump out of the car and you have to like run really fast because you have to know how to manage your adrenaline and all of that, because if you can't, you're toast. You're not going to make it very far.
Correct. And one of my favorite trainers told us that the body can't go where the mind has never been. So you train these people to think about these stuff like, I can't put your body in every situation you might be in a 20-year career, but I can get you thinking about it. I can get you to know what it feels like for that Valsalva, when your heart rate spikes and you hold your breath for a few seconds. So when the stuff does happen to you outside of the gym, like, what it is like, and you understand what your body's a little bit more capable of. Like, I think a lot of times, not just police officers, in public, they get, well, I used to be able to pick this up, or I used to be able to chase this guy, and that was 10 years ago, and you've eaten like 100 Big Macs since then. Like, the odds of you, yes, it's not going to happen. So getting them into that routine gives them a better reality check of where they are and what they're capable of. Again, risks them getting hurt. So my biggest fear when I'm training these cadets is somebody's going to get hurt. So I do everything I possibly can to minimize that. When I'm training my officers, the police department too. So we have our gym back behind the police department, and I put a week's worth of workouts on the board, and I've told all my officers they can give me a holler. I'll come out to the gym and watch them squat, make sure they're bracing right. If they want to deadlift, watch them deadlift, make sure that they're gauging their lats first where they come up, they're not just jerking that bar or benching, whatever the case is. And so some of them have taken me up on it, which has been great. My favorite place to be is in the gym. Like,
same here.
Honestly, it's after a long day, going to the gym and working out kind of like gets my mind right. So, which is something we haven't discussed yet, but in my opinion, the mental health of our first responders is just now starting to become something that more and more people are talking about, right? And there's a strong correlation between physical fitness and mental health. And a very healthy way for your body to get rid of all that stress that you've built up during the day is to go and exercise, as opposed to going home or going to a bar and having a beer. It's much healthier for your body to get that adrenaline and out by going to the gym and hitting the treadmill or hitting the rower or picking up something heavy and putting it down a bunch of times. All those things have been shown to be good for your mental health. So I really encourage any police officer or first responder, EMS, fire too, that those guys see some nasty things. I mean, sometimes just getting out and being physical gives your mind a chance to kind of tumble that around what you just went through and store it into the back, and at the same time you're working on your body too. So I think that's something we should really focus on as well, is make sure that officers know it's not just for your physical health, but it will greatly improve your mental health to have some kind of regular exercise routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And because on that job, you never know what you're going to see. Every day is going to be different. You can see some horrible, and then at the gym afterwards, it actually does help after you've had like a really bad day, just to
decompress.
Clear your mind. Yeah, and it works. It's
Yes.
amazing how that works.
Yeah, people who haven't experienced that, I think, again, if you don't know what you're doing, you get overwhelmed by the gym. But once you get into that, if you can just get past that first hump to start, you're going to see that all these benefits that you and I are up here talking about, we're not just pulling them out of the air. Like, we can promise you're going to feel it.
Yes.
You just have to start.
Well, like I said last week, my genetics are terrible, and I've been doing this type of stuff for a few years now, like really hardcore going at it, and it works. I mean, it 1,000% works. It doesn't matter who you are.
Absolutely. And you and I were talking prior to us sitting here on the couch that, our population as a whole, our society, we are an overweight, out of shape society. Heart disease is on the rise, and a lot of this stuff is preventable, and I know I want to be around for my son as long as I possibly can.
Right.
I don't want to be the dad that can't keep up with his kid. My son's 14 right now. I can still beat him at basketball, but I know those days are numbered.
Right.
And I'm holding on to him as long as I can. And eventually when I'm a grandfather, I want to be the granddad that can keep up with the grandkids and not sit in the recliner and drinking my big old pitcher of sweet tea every day, you know what I mean? But it's shocking to me that so many people I don't know if they're necessarily giving up or they are afraid about it. And I'm not trying to fat shame anybody. You should be happy with who you are. But I mean, I just want people to be healthy. I want people to feel good. I want people to have long lives. I mean, we shouldn't be dying in our 50s. Really, we shouldn't be dying in our 60s anymore because of heart disease or something like that. I mean, the science has advanced so much that, we should be living quite a bit longer than we are. And there's no, I guess, tactful way to say it. It just feels good to be in shape. I've been out of shape. When I first started as a police officer, I was 220 pounds. I got down to 170, and now I'm back up to 200, but it's a healthy 200.
Right.
And I can tell you, I feel a lot better now than I did when I was 24 at 220 pounds. I'm stronger, I'm fitter, I'm faster than I was when I was 25 years old. And I said faster. One of my lieutenants has a bet that he can beat me in a 40-yard dash. So we're going to have a race here in not too long and see who's faster. So, but I'm 41. I'll be 42 here pretty soon, and I have no doubt that I'm in better shape now than I was in my 20s.
And that's huge, because usually as you get older, it just gets harder. But the fact that you've been able to stay in or get even in better shape, especially with a job like this, that's huge.
Yeah, as it shows, anybody can do it. I mean, we all have stressful stuff, right? I mean, my job's stressful. My kids are stressful. My dogs are stressful. Paying bills is stressful. It's all these things pulling you in all these different directions. But I mean, sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish, and there's nothing wrong with that. We should normalize saying, I need to take care of me. You need to take care of you. This is my me time. I need to do this. I need to go to the gym so that I can be a better, husband, father, police chief, police officer, PTA parent, basketball coach, whatever it is that you do. You're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it to be better for the people who depend on you every single day, which I think is, you know, it's okay to be a little bit selfish. You're not doing it instead of paying your bills, you know, you're doing it so that you can be better at the things that people rely on you for.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to wrap this up, the last thing, because the people that are watching this, some of them may want to become police officers one day, or maybe are getting ready to become a police officer or going through the training. From a fitness aspect, what would you recommend they do right now to kind of get them ahead of the game and make sure they're really well prepared for the fitness test or just the physical needs of a law enforcement officer?
So I'll tell anybody that's looking to get into law enforcement now, one, it's a great time to be a peace officer. I mean, there's a lot of changes happening. The public is demanding different changes from us, and you can be on the ground floor of what the future of policing looks like. To get ready for that physically, I would recommend people find a way to get on a rower, whether it's a Concept 2 or the other brands that are out there. It's a great workout. It works both hemispheres of your body, your upper and your lower body. It's going to really tax your cardiovascular system. You're going to burn through all your energy systems when you're on it, and it's the odds of getting hurt are pretty slim. If you don't have access to a rower, I'm going to give a plug to the only group workout that I really know of, but there's Camp Gladiator. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a great workout. They have it at people's houses or parks. It's relatively cheap. All you need is a workout mat and a set of dumbbells, and they'll have a coach there. It's going to put you through an hour of HIIT type training. And it's going to be structured, so you'll see the progress versus just going in the gym and, like I said, sampling everything, but not really getting your full on any one particular exercise. So I would recommend that. Just move more. I mean, as long as you're willing to try, most of the departments now, you have to be in really bad shape to fail that first entry test, right? We'll work with you to get you to a decent level of fitness. Yeah. Be coachable, be motivated, and be wanting to serve, and I think that you're going to be fine. But yeah, locally I would say Camp Gladiator is probably your cheapest way, or something similar. If there's something else here, something like that would be a great start. And getting used to, I'm going to yell at you when you're in the police academy, and I'm putting through the fitness stuff. So Camp Gladiator, I used to do that way back in the day, and they yell at you sometimes too. So it's a good little transition. Yeah, just start somewhere. I mean, there's not because since every department is different, how do I tell you how to prepare for Waco or me or
okay,
you know what I mean? So if you're looking to go to, if you want to be a police officer and work for a DPS or a state agency, you're going to want to get really comfortable on the rower. If not, then some type of boot camp style workout is perfect because it's going to, strengthen. You're going to work on your muscular strength and your cardiovascular endurance at the same time, which should prepare you for whatever test somebody throws at you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on. That was really cool to hear everything you had to say about police fitness. I've learned a lot more about your guys' fitness routine, some things I didn't even know about. So, and I think the public hopefully will take away from that as well. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys next time.